if you're feeling really good with the pentatonic, the minor pentatonic scale, what I want to do is I want to show you some nice expansions that you can use to really bring color out of this scale that you're already using. So if we just use A minor pentatonic as our example, what we're going to do is we're going to add in a note which is referred to as the second or the ninth. And what it's going to do is it's going to add some really, really nice color to this scale, simply because the first thing that it does is it creates a half step, which this scale does not have any half steps. The scale has, right here, we've got a step and a half, or a minor third it's called. Right? Here's a whole step, or a major second it's called. Okay? Well, what we want is right there. If we add in this note, if we go from the A and add in the B, and then all of a sudden we got our C that we had before, all of a sudden you've got this really nice half step, which makes for really nice melody. Okay, the great thing about pentatonic is you don't have any wrong notes. You can move around and play everything in there and everything's going to sound fine. If there is a downside to the pentatonic, it's that it sounds a little bit generic. So when you add in this new note, and there's the octave of it right there, now all of a sudden you've got this really nice melody happening. See? So if you had A playing underneath, right? And all I'm doing is playing pentatonic here, but I'm adding in this one note. It's called a second, or it's called a ninth. It can be referred to as either one. So that's a really nice note to add in. And again, you can add it into any positions that you know, but basically all you're doing is wherever you have an A, you're adding in a whole step higher to the B. Okay, but it just makes, again, that half step is really, all of a sudden it begins to sound a bit more legitimate and a bit more like what we refer to as a diatonic scale, which is the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do scale. Now, we're not going to get into great detail on the theory of diatonic and that. What I want you to do is this is practical playing. So if you were sitting around with somebody and you were playing an A minor chord and you went, you could add that ninth in, and it would sound really, really pretty, okay? So that's an easy way of simply expanding your pentatonic, is by adding in this one note into your playing, which is the ninth, or the second, we call it, okay? Whichever way you want to look at it. But start exploring that. Just tack it on top of everything else that you're learning about your pentatonic, and just start using it. You don't have to overuse it. I mean, maybe you just use it sparingly. But see how when I do that, I'm getting all of that pentatonic stuff, which is really great. But if I go from boom, all of a sudden it just sounds huge. And the reason the ninth is so nice is because it's a pretty generic, it's not as generic as the pentatonic notes, but it's pretty, maybe generic's not a good term, but it's a really useful note that fits in all of the situations that you're normally going to be playing in. If you were playing in blues, that note would still work, okay? If you were playing over an A major chord and you were using A minor over the top, which again, makes no theoretical sense, but when you do it, it tends to sound a bit more bluesy or rock and roll sounding. But when you do that, that ninth will still fit just fine over the top of that. So that's why we're adding that note in particular, if you're wondering why. And just explore it. Have some fun with it and see what you can do by just adding in this one new pitch to really add some fun and creative color to your playing.